This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 154, I believe. I didn't look it up before we started recording. I am bad. Tonight, I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey.
So tonight, we are recording the April AggroChat Game Club game show for Moon Hunters. Ashgar, why did you pick this game?
I actually primarily picked this game because it was a co-op game, and we haven't played one of those really since Grindia. But also I picked it because it seemed interesting. It was billed as sort of a RPG personality test, and I didn't really know what kind of game it was beyond that, so
I remember seeing this.
Examples that came out of the Square Enix Collective, one of the earliest games out of that initiative.
Yeah.
So Square basically put it up on their website, said, hey, does anybody want to play this? And then people said yes, that said, yeah, we can put it on Kickstarter.
I remember seeing this at like E3 or something and thinking it looked really interesting because the art style is kind of cool.
This was at PAX South the first year we went.
Okay. I don't remember it from PAX South that first year, but I was maybe really bad at actually hitting booths and playing games that first year. Okay, so I guess what are folks' initial thoughts before we get into deeper discussion? How much of it did you play, etc.? Did you actually get a good ending?
I beat the game multiple times, but none of those endings are good.
I played through 3 times, and my third ending was probably kind of good. I seduced the Sun Priest, and we ran off together.
Interesting.
That is an ending. I played through twice, both, which probably I shouldn't have done the same character both times, but one of them I did a Dust Folk or whatever that option was, and then the other one I did a Wolf Clan, and I liked the Wolf Clan significantly better than the Dust Folk.
Yeah, I didn't really care much for the Dust Folk.
I am kind of glad that after you play through once, they offer you a chance to start somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yes. I really like that structure.
And I played this game through 5 or 6 times, and I did get the best ending. So I got an ending where the sun returned, or the moon returned, and the sun, after the fact, like the sun and moon cult merged, and like they formed a like everlasting alliance type thing. And then the sun freaks out because this isn't what he wants, and you have to go fight the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, he showed up after I seduced the Sun Priest and seemed kind of cranky.
Did he show up in the meta space?
Yes.
Did you then go fight the sun?
No, I did not get an opportunity to fight the sun.
Interesting.
Like I had the same thing happen.
Yeah, basically after that ending, when I went back to the meta space, like the spirit of the Sun Priest showed up and was like, "Hey, wait a minute. It's like maybe you should be more fair with this story." And then the sun showed up and was like a cranky asshole.
So there are various spots in this game where you can go to the final boss early.
My very first run, I did that.
Yeah. So if you go to one of those spaces, there's a puzzle which has a new moon, full moon, crescent moon, and half moon on it. And if you, in a previous run, you had been given the hint of the order of the moon phases, and then enter in those order of the moon phases, the moon shows up, and you have the opportunity to forgive Marduk. And if you forgive Marduk, the moon returns and makes peace with the sun. And after that, the sun, Ashgar, shows up in the metaspace and freaks out and is like, this isn't what I wanted at all. It's like, if you want this piece, you'll have to fight me. And then you have to like go through you get to choose one of your heroes from the past. So like at the end of each run, your heroes become a constellation. and you get to pick one of those, and with all of the powers that they gained throughout that run, and use them to fight through this the Sun boss. At which point you get a true ending where all of the NPCs show up and talk to you.
I actually found the meta structure kind of interesting because I know at launch it didn't exist.
Interesting. Like, what do you mean?
I mean, the whole area with all the constellations and things.
Oh.
Huh.
So, did you not, carry anything over from run to run?
I do not actually know. To be fair, when this game first came out, I started to play it, started as a druid, and got frustrated, didn't get very far, because the druid does not start out as a very strong character.
No. I don't actually think the only one that I felt strong when I started with was the Ritualist.
Oh man, I felt super strong as the swords guy.
Dancer.
The air sword dancer guy.
Yeah.
That guy was awesome.
See, I felt like his swords hit like wet noodles.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
Like
but
by the
tornado
end,
doesn't.
he was absurd.
Yeah. He was a little he wasn't super amazing immediately, but by the end I was unstoppable.
Yeah. Like starting
I feel
out,
like his tornado is nice damage early on. If you actually complete a combo against something, that tornado does a fair bit.
Well, so I got to the end of the game and I was really struggling to beat the final boss with the characters I had. And so then I tried a witch playthrough, and I think I rolled very well on what upgrades I got, and it was she was the one who knocked over the sun boss at the end, and she made things trivially easy.
I don't think it's just rolling well, because the witch's spear seems ludicrously strong for a primary attack.
It's
right?
ludicrously strong, and I had over 60 strength by the end of that run, and I had your spear does extra damage, and I had your spear attacks in 3 directions. She was one-shotting a bunch of things by the end of that. It's very funny because people in later runs often talk about how strong Kubel is. She seems to be the one that all of the people talk about. Oh man, you're trying to get as strong as Kubela, aren't you? Which, that's a really fun thing too, is that all of the heroes you play become legends of the past in the future playthroughs. People will talk about, may Kubel's blessing be on you, or you fight with the ferocity of Hedwana, don't you?
Yeah.
I found the songstress to be probably my most successful character, although definitely not the physically strongest. But the ability to attack while moving is very, very strong in that game.
I'll have to try her. I've been enjoying the Sun Cultist, even though it's the incredibly bad ideas class.
How do you
not unlock
open
the Sun Cultist?
Up the Sun Cultist?
I'm pretty sure you have to seduce him.
Oh, interesting.
I opened it up after beating up the giant sun ox. I think that's what triggered it. I'm actually not certain.
Been it, because that's what I did.
That boss was frustrating as hell.
Yeah, I think beating up the giant sun ox is what unlocks the Sun Cultist.
I did not think I ever encountered the giant sun ox.
Oh, it's horrible.
The giant sun ox was trivially easy for the sword dancer guy.
It's if you see an area on the map that says there's a Sun Cultist area in it, there's an icon for it and it's labeled Sun Cult, that's where it shows up.
Interesting.
One thing that definitely made my playthroughs a lot more fun was in my very first playthrough, when I went to a Baba Yaga area, I met Baba Yaga's talking cat who taught me how to talk to animals.
I still haven't learned to talk to animals. I found Baba Yaga's hut. I found that cat. It wouldn't talk to me.
I have found Baba Yaga's hut twice and did not find the cat.
I totally saw the cat on a stump. Wouldn't interact with me.
Did any of you get the lion as a companion?
Yes. I roared at the lion, and it said, "Okay, yes,
thing.
I'll be your friend."
So here was the funny thing about this one is that was in Ash and I's co-op game, and by that point I was a druid who turned into a lion.
At that point, we also already had the griffin as a pet.
We also did have the griffin as a pet, but it was like, screw the griffin, now we can have 2 lions.
Okay, so I'm curious, how did you guys play it, like, be it controller or mouse and keyboard?
Controller.
Base controller.
Controller.
Okay, so I was the only one that played mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard is not a great way to play this game.
Yeah,
I
can
could
believe
see that.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree.
Like, I think I made the game a hell of a lot harder on myself by doing it that way.
Do you aim with your mouse?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, it was kind of miserable, but like, I was also kind of lazy and I was playing it on my laptop and I didn't want to go find a keyboard or a controller to hook up to it. So like, had I done that, I probably would have had a much better experience. Because it always felt like my body and my controls were going in opposite directions at all times.
Yeah, I can see that. There was also a notable difference in some of the difficulty of enemies. I hated those stupid mushrooms with a passion.
The mushrooms were incredibly annoying with the witch and incredibly easy with the what is she?
Ritualist.
Calculator. Yeah, the ritualist.
Yes.
Because you know what those mushrooms can't block? Giant voids.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever encountered the mushrooms.
The big spiky mushrooms that charge at you?
Yeah.
No.
They're jerks.
Really?
What?
You can encounter them in multiple environments.
Yeah.
I've never encountered them, no.
Well, and
The
they
sun
show up in the
cultists-
forests, which is like where you mostly start.
The Sun Cultists destroys those things. Like, they don't even reach me. Because if you can deal damage to them from behind while they're charging at you, they'll stop and, like, be stunned or something.
Yep.
Well, and if you can run away from them long enough, they'll stop for a moment. You can get around behind them. You can stun them.
This is basically what you have to do as a songstress.
And so I just put down... So the Sun Cultist puts down fire everywhere. I don't know if anybody else played as the Sun Cultist.
I did not unlock
Have
it.
not yet.
So the Sun Cultist has a whole bunch of abilities that if you don't move immediately... Like, they leave giant fire patches around. And if you don't move immediately... Like, I can throw my weapon, and it leaves a fire patch. But it leaves a fire patch, like, from where I'm at. So I need to get out of the way, because I don't want to be on fire. So you spend a lot of time You spend a lot of time trying to not be on fire as a Sun Cultist. But you can also set everything on fire. So anything that tries to run at you gets set on fire.
Fortunately, the songstress does not work quite so efficiently, because while you can put damage over time things on your enemies and all magic whips to attack them, none of those counts as attacking from behind. And in fact, if their guard is up while you have a damage over time on them, they'll block the whole thing.
Oh.
You placed it on them while they were still vulnerable, which was a little annoying.
Yeah, honestly, the monster that I hated even more than the mushrooms was the ice creatures that would summon giant circles of ice around you if you didn't move fast enough.
I was going to say, those were my other least favorite enemies. I hated those guys too.
Those are sort of okay as a songstress, because all of your things attack all the way around you.
Yeah, those guys were super easy as the sword guy, because I was just never there.
Did get in an ambush that had 4 of them, and that did both of us in. But
I mean, that did the druid in with shocking expediency. The person who I had the best time with against those was the ritualist, because I was like, oh, I see that there is a circle under me. Time to teleport out.
The bears were kind of horrifying.
The bears, the only thing that I felt threatened by the bears was their giant AoE, and there was a ton of lead up to that.
There were a couple of places where I encountered 2 or 3 at a time, and that was just horrible. And I felt like multiples of the lions at once was kind of horrible as well.
Yeah, I did not find those very fun.
So, when you were talking about why you chose this game, one of the things they bill it as is a personality test. And I don't buy it.
Seems like that has way less influence than you would think, except for the one useless stat seems to actually have some effect.
Charm?
Yes.
What is the effect of that?
Well, one I noticed in co-op that when I decided to up my charm a bit above yours, basically, became the team leader, and decisions followed me, basically.
Yeah.
When there was a tie, which there always was because there were only 2 of us.
But
also, I'm wondering if you need charm to seduce the Sun Cultist.
Oh, maybe.
I kind of think maybe you do, because I did end up getting some charm through my choices when I played the Ritualist, and that was the one where, yeah, at the end I, seduced the Sun Priest.
They give you all of these various traits as you play through the game and decide to do things or not do things. And the decisions sometimes seem to affect what happens, but traits don't seem to, as far as I can tell.
Well, I mean, traits sometimes affect whether you can interact with something at all.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Like, you can't try to eat the stone fruit if you're not foolish. There's a lot of people you can't talk to if you're not proud.
If you can't get the line unless you're brave.
And also, it seems like whichever traits you got affect which constellation your person becomes.
Yes, and also which choices you make determine your story. And I thought your story was really cool at the end. Like, at the end of every day, there's a little bit of like, here is the story of your character's future. Like, this is not your character's only thing they ever do. Your character is also going to go out in the world after they stop the Sun Cultist and continue being adventurers, and we're going to tell their story of what happens after this. And so every day you get a little tidbit of what the future of your character is, and then at the end you get a big exposition of like, here's all of the legends that came to be known for this character. And I thought that was really cool, and how like your constellations fill the sky as your characters do stuff.
One of the things you mentioned right before this was that the character designs were reminiscent of sort of PvE MOBA.
Yeah. So you sort of have your QWE, but in this case it's 3 buttons. So like you have your basic attack, which is different for everyone. You have a like special power attack, which costs resources, and then you have a movement ability which costs resources. And all of the characters have very different flavors of that, and so everyone has a very individualized design feel, and those characters progress in specific ways. So as you kill creeps, you earn resources, and then you can spend resources in very specific ways. So, like I was saying earlier, like one of the things I got when I was playing the Witch was they come in tiers of like 15 resources, 15 opals, 75 opals, and 150 opals. One of like the 150 opals was like your spear attacks like directly ahead of you, and then at an angle, so it's sort of like a pincer or a trident style attack. And I also spent a bunch of opals upgrading the damage of that. And that's on top of the fact that there's a stat system which you can manipulate through your choices you make camping nights out. Like, if you want to raise your intelligence, you can spend the night stargazing. If you want to raise your strength, you can spend the night hunting. And it's very much a like, there's a character progression and a character build that you are designing, but the game only lasts maybe an hour to an hour and a half, so it's a very brief progress. You're trying to like get your power increases at a very steady rate, similar to the feel when I'm playing League of Legends. How my character starts off pretty weak, but like by the end is incredibly powerful, and it's incredibly fun to like remember how I was like very carefully kills a creep. You get that satisfaction of rising to power over a very brief window of time. In that regard, it reminds me of a MOBA game.
I guess maybe because I was playing with mouse and keyboard, all I could think of was Diablo, like in the way that your character progressed and your attacks that you had.
And that you have abilities, and
yeah,
you can buy some ways to change these abilities.
Yeah, you could mutate them like runes in Diablo 3.
Yeah, but Diablo's character isn't throwaway. Diablo's character lasts much longer than that hour and a half play session.
Right, but I mean, I also didn't get into MOBAs nearly as much as you did, so I mean, that's probably why I didn't think in those terms, but I can see what you're saying. Is like I approached the game in a totally wrong way, which was largely every night I camped, I wanted to try a different thing. So my stats were all over the place. And most of the time I wasn't exactly sure what the stats did. So, with interactions, my characters had just stats all over the place, like just random.
I had no idea.
My first two characters had the same thing going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, my early characters did as well, but once I sort of got the feel for the system, they became real powerful.
Yeah, and probably it would be a much better experience if I had thought ahead of time, like, I want to build this way, and now everything I do is going to dictate that build.
Yeah.
So it's playing it more like a RPG than a action combat style game.
And what I do think is nice, though, is that even if you screw up one character, I mean, that's an hour and a half play session. Your next hour and a half play session, you can go about it a completely different way. And that's where I think it's different than Diablo. Diablo, I feel like I am supposed to be playing this character, and really, there are grinds that are hours long. So it doesn't have the very quick buildup of power that this game does. This game allows you to go from pretty pathetically weak to incredibly strong pretty fast. I know that, Ash, you didn't think very much of the druid, and that's because the druid kind of starts off not very powerful at all. But once we put a little bit of opals in him, he became a monster.
It seems like the lion shapeshift upgrade is very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as you get more strength, the leaves become less and less pathetic.
Yeah, because everything on the druid is physical damage, so you can just single-mindedly put stuff into strength and turn him into this incredibly tough glass cannon.
The first time I played the Snow Dancer, I died before leaving the first area.
Me too.
I have not managed to get the Song Dancer out of the first area alive. And I think that's the Songweaver, yeah. And I think that's just because I have not had great luck with the Song Dancer. The first time it was a pack of mushrooms. The second time it was 3 hives of the guys who shoot at range.
Oh, the beetle things?
Yeah, the beetles that not just the beetle things, but the ones that the spawners. So it was constantly spawning beetles. But yeah, no. But honestly, dying in the first area is not a huge setback. It's going to cost you 10 opals. In the grand scheme of things, that's not... Yeah, if that.
For me, it was always the second or third night that I ended up finally taking a death.
I don't know. The druid I didn't have a whole lot of success with. The Snow Dancer I didn't have a whole lot of success with. Songweaver I liked. The sword, whatever, I liked. And the Wish just seemed really, really strong.
I really do like the Snow Dancer a lot. But he has an incredibly powerful special attack.
The ice stuff?
Yeah.
Sort of the way for the Songweaver as well. Her attack song is very strong, but it does require you to prepare it for a minute. So best to start it when enemies are not nearby, and then you run into enemies with it.
The Snow Dancer's basic attack is garbage, though.
Yes, that is true. It would be a lot better if it wasn't such a slow wind-up.
I do find it interesting that they managed to come up with, 6, 7 completely different classes on that same basic normal attack, special attack, movement ability setup.
Yeah, I love how different they all feel.
Well, and even more than that, they're non-traditional classes. Not a single one of those classes is really the traditional...
Mage Thief.
Yeah, exactly. They don't fit those molds.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, and to some extent, that was unfortunate for me because, there wasn't really a character that fit the kind of thing I like to play regularly. There wasn't really a tanky character. Mostly because I don't think it would fit within the game construct. So, the Sword Dancer was more of a swashbucklery type character, at least to me, is what it felt like.
The Sword Dancer is so awesome.
Yeah, I see. I knew it would be your jam. It just wasn't necessarily my jam for a melee character. I mean, I think some kind of barbarian would have been cool.
Yeah, that sort of style is completely underrepresented.
Yeah, there's no big smashy.
I mean, there is. It's the Snow Dancer.
I don't think I played the Snow Dancer.
She uses an axe, 2 axes, something like that.
Maybe I didn't. Is that an unlockable or
It's
is
an
it?
unlock.
Yeah,
Unlocked
I don't
it the first time I beat the final boss, rather than dying to the final boss, which I did twice before that.
To some extent, the way unlocks happened, it reminded me a bit of Risk of Rain.
In that I had no
Except
idea
a
how.
better pace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I actually
Yeah.
was able to unlock some glasses.
Also, I felt like I could beat the game on my first playthrough, unlike Risk of Rain.
Yes, that too.
Or more accurately, I feel like the game does a very good job at scaling with multiple people, which I don't feel like Risk of Rain was doing. Risk
Does
of Rain
not.
feels almost unplayable solo, and it feels pretty okay with like 2 to 3, and feels very simple with 4.
Is that why I hate Risk of Rain so much?
See,
Aw,
like,
so
I
Played it mostly solo.
Yeah,
so
like-
I'm not sure I agree.
I feel like Risk of Rain is one of those things that, like, once you understand what's going on, you can do okay. Because, like, I popped
you
it
still
up on
can't
the
do okay every time.
right.
But when I tried it on the Vita, I won my first run without having unlocked anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I was gonna say. Like when I bought it for Vita, I had nothing unlocked and like went all the way to the end on the first try. But that admittedly was after playing a lot of it on the PC.
Yes.
Yeah, this felt like the game I wanted Risk of Rain to be.
Short sessions, unlock some stuff to try again next time. I mean, it's a very similar structure, except
Yeah.
for that more seems to carry from previous runs in this game than does in Risk of Rain.
Yeah, more carries. I don't feel like even if I have just a total utter failure of a run, I don't feel like that was wasted time.
I could see that.
Whereas I feel like I don't actually feel like I accomplished anything in any of the plays of Risk of Rain I had.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like this game and Risk of Rain and Rogue Legacy are all doing something similar in that you are unlocking stuff to carry forward, but the payoff is vastly different in every case. Like this, to some extent, feels like there's a lot of story payoff in addition to unlocking new things to play.
So I will say only one of those notably increases your power level from game to game, and that would be Rogue Legacy.
Right.
But yeah, I do think that this one it's more generous with the unlocks early on, and there are unlocks that are allowing you to do some interesting story stuff in the later on games.
I think honestly, like probably my favorite thing about the game was the art style.
The art is gorgeous. Like I don't normally love pixel art games.
I do.
Yeah, me too. But some of the stuff it was doing with like the light and shadow and
Yes.
like that first time you walk past like I think a mushroom and you can see the firelight changes as the mushroom is casting a shadow.
Yeah. That's a really, really cool touch. Yeah, I'm usually pretty picky about pixel art games. Like I feel like you better be doing something interesting if you're going to use pixel art as your visual. But I feel like this is doing something interesting.
I also really like the art style of the like character avatars. The like very hand drawn like cutouts essentially.
But those were even more interesting once you unlock the sort of spirit versions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of those look really cool.
Yeah, I got spirit the spirit sword spellblade, and he looks sweet.
So are the unlocks always the same like animal sigil? Because like my spellblade was like a stag, and I didn't know if it was always going to be a stag or
No.
No,
So,
you can get several options per character, I think.
okay.
well, so the special skins are all locked, but the like my first character was the stag, and that was because of if you look at all of those constellations, they will say what combination of 1 or 2 traits that character has to embody in order to receive that constellation. So because my Kubel was wise, she became the all-seeing eye. I think the stag is wise and something else.
I know I got something interesting for having a very foolish druid. I don't remember what it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got the rose for being seductive.
They get that one as well.
So okay, like, I know I've been on a kick of saying this thing would be a good Switch game, but I feel like this would be a good Switch game.
I'd play the hell out of this on Switch.
Because, like, the short format lends itself probably to a mobile platform.
I was actually thinking that so one of the things that they obviously are trying to get you to do is play like quote unquote couch co-op with it, because like you can play with multiple controllers on your computer, you can play with controller and keyboard on your computer, and it's like I'm never gonna play a couch co-op game off of my computer, almost certainly. Like that's just sort of an awkward experience. But with a Switch where you could take two Joy-Cons,
yeah, because you could like absolutely do everything with a mini Joy-Con. Like it may not be the most comfortable experience in the world, but like you could absolutely do all the controls.
Yeah, and because it's a relatively short, your play sessions are relatively short, it'd be very elegant.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of of the indie games to get ported to other platforms, this is the sort of game that I would like to see on Switch, just because like I think it would lend itself to that format. I mean, I've been playing Wonder Boy on Switch, and it's been a fun experience because I could pop in, play a little bit, pop it out.
I'm curious, with this game, did anyone else encounter much with the Silk Empire?
I don't even know. I've never even met them.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I encountered a village of moth people at one point, and it's like, you have unlocked some adventures with the Silk Empire, and then they never showed up.
No, I haven't seen anything like that.
So, I'm curious... go ahead.
I was like, I kind of assume that the map is random each time.
Yes.
It's definitely random each time. Mostly random each time. Certain things seem to always be in certain spots, so if you can work your way to those spots, you can get to those things. Like the villages, for example.
Not sure why you'd want to, but...
Gets you access to a new shop, and doesn't need a day.
Oh, villages don't need a day? I thought they did.
Villages don't need a day.
Alright, that's probably useful.
Yeah, I wish I knew that, because then I would have made a point to hit villages I could hit.
I really wonder what this is like with a bunch of people co-op, though.
It's pretty fun.
I didn't actually get to play it co-op at all.
Me either.
It's pretty fun with two. Like, I feel like it would work pretty well with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
That would be a cool thing to try.
So, yeah, Ash and I played it co-op, and it allowed us to play some characters that are a little bit weaker early game. Like, we played Druid and
Songweaver.
Songweaver,
yeah. Songweaver is not strong at the start, but she has a lot of control.
And Druid is also not very strong at the start, but also has a lot of upside once he gets going.
Okay, so one of the things that made my life more difficult than it probably should have is I didn't realize you could smash barrels for hearts until I was on a boss fight.
Oh yeah,
because like I felt like God, like I just cannot stay, keep from taking damage. So like I eventually run out of health. And then, my only way to regenerate was to pray at the shrines, and you only get to do that once.
Yeah, there were a lot of times when we were just hunting for destroyables, trying to get a little bit more opals to afford something that was on the shopkeep in that area.
Yeah, there's a lot of different abilities that you can get from shopkeepers, yes. Which is neat because I felt like it made playing different, the same class more than once still a starkly different experience.
So my favorite ability mutator that I got was the thing that made my whirlwind suck things into them.
Yes.
That was amazing. Especially for like gathering up like swarms of things.
It really is possible for that character to put it all on the tornado. Longer lasting tornado that sucks in things? Sure.
Hedwana has a bunch of abilities that upgrade her black hole, and all of those are amazing.
My playthrough with her, the black hole was larger and lasted longer and sucked things in, and like I hardly even had to use anything else. Just drop a black hole on a bunch of things and watch them die.
Which also has an option of spending on the beam. Make it cost less, make it pierce through things, and you don't need your overpowered primary attack.
That was the thing that made Hedwana so ridiculous, was when I got her basic attacks pierce. And then I just started ripping through everything with her.
Does Pierce basically make it go through multiple targets?
Yep.
That's the spear, right?
No, Hadrona is the ritualist, so it's the little purple balls.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that's the one I haven't played.
Yeah, she has 3 little purple balls that follow her around that you can throw at things, and then they take a second to regen. And one of the improvements you can buy for them is that you get more of them.
Man, so I just gotta say, between Super Mario and the Evil Sun there, this game, and Horizon, I'm really not a fan of sun or sun gods or anything like that.
The Daystar is evil.
So this
It
is
is.
actually really funny to me because, like, I've been watching a lot of anime, and one of the common themes is the moon is evil. So this is one of those things where it's like, nope, the sun is evil in this one.
I'm not a fan of the sun in general, so, like, this is drift compatible with my mentality.
Yeah, the moon stands for justice and rabbits.
Or
What?
trickery and werewolves.
Yeah, I guess that too.
Yeah, but werewolves are, like, the best of the were things. No, probably werebears are better.
I guess that depends on what setting you're in.
Yeah. But, like, werewolves are totally the good guys of World of Darkness.
I think that's arguable too.
When they remember to be.
So that we don't forget, Kodra, I know you had a whole thing you wanted to talk about the music in this game.
So I really, really like a lot of the music in a lot of indie games, but especially there's one track in this game when you meet the Song Weaver, like in your camp or out in the world. It starts playing this really mellow vocal track, and I love it so much. It gets to the point where she doesn't really do anything after the first time you meet her, but I'm always excited to meet her because I get that song.
I thought the music was really good. I mean, like, there weren't any specific tracks that stuck out in my mind. I think I was more focused on the art.
The music is weirdly contemplative, and I kind of like that.
Well, I mean, admittedly, like, it's kind of a game for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it asks you a lot of semi-deep questions about yourself, or at least your character.
Yeah, you're right. It's very contemplative, and it's very fitting with the theme of the game. Like these are all of the stories, and like sort of this is the myth making, and you get to make your own of this world. I guess I'm also just it's really cool seeing all of a lot of really high quality sound design. Like a lot of times indie games have to cut somewhere, but a lot of them seem to have been able to figure out a way of really doing a good job integrating music into their games. I wonder if that's just because it's something that is easier or cheaper for them.
Well,
I really enjoy it.
desktop music production has gotten to the point where you can have really high quality sound without a lot of outlay of cash. I mean, I think that's also why we see a lot of really high quality 2D art in indie games, is because that's another place where talent is what matters, not necessarily the tech. I don't know if that makes any sense. Because there's a lot of things that are just expensive.
But
right, but I mean, like a lot of times there's just certain things that are just really expensive to put in a game.
High tier graphic design, or high tier graphics for one.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of what the indie scene is good at is proving the value of a good, strong, well executed concept over a particular like a particular high budget thing. And like this is a really good example of a game that kind of knows what it is trying to deliver and delivers on that, and doesn't mess around with anything that it doesn't pretend to be good at things it's not. Like, this is a game that could very easily have had, like, a PvP arena mode, and I don't think it would have been very good, but you could have shoehorned it in there.
It does kind of have something like that going on, because the end is a counter, and I think it's not a very strong thing. And the only reason I like it at all is because it is allowing you to revisit the combat abilities of characters you've already beaten the game with. Like, the final fight is fight 9 waves of these enemies from various biomes, and then an end boss fight using one of the characters that you finished the game with. And it's not exactly a really compelling encounter, and the only thing I find compelling about it is you get to go back and play with the characters like at the height of their power that you beat the game with.
Yeah.
But this game definitely is trying to deliver on the myth creation thing, and it does so phenomenally. And it's something I don't know a lot of other games that are really doing.
Like the idea of how myths happen, or how the things you do create myths.
Yeah, the things you do create myths, and you encounter those myths in future playthroughs.
Yeah, I think that part is really neat.
And like the heroes that you have that were very successful become myths that you hear a lot about, and the characters that you have that weren't very successful don't get mentioned very often.
Sometimes they become cautionary tales.
Interesting. I've not had anyone become a cautionary tale.
I had a guy become a
Cautionary tale.
My sun cultist became a cautionary tale because he died ignominiously to the Sun King because the Sun King's immune to fire.
Oh.
Oops.
Yeah.
So what the listeners at home won't be able to hear, because I will have edited it out, but we just had a massively long pause, which makes me wonder if we've started to wind down.
Maybe a little bit.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's interesting because this is a game that I really enjoyed, and I'm almost certainly gonna keep playing, like pop in and noodle with it a bit more and play it some more. Which I haven't actually done with most of the previous games.
Well, and at least for me, it definitely helps that there's all these neat story, bits to encounter and make different choices on and see how they go.
Yeah.
A lot of which are, really clever or interesting or just cute.
So,
like the time that I met Sadko on the side of a lake in the snow, and after talking to him, he ended up getting married to the Caesar. It was awesome.
I feel like there are some, but not enough through lines. Like, all of the stories are singleton events, and they don't, like, recur in your playthrough, which the thing is a lot of these stories I find are kind of consumable. Like, you consume them, and then that's it. That said, what I do like is I like when your story comes back to you, but that's sort of a rarity. But like, there was one where I went out hunting, and instead of like, I managed to nurse a griffin back to health, and then a couple days later it joined me and like started fighting alongside, and that was cool.
Huh.
But I don't feel like enough. Most of the stories are sort of one. Yeah, it was really cool, but most of the stories are sort of just single-time events.
That's really interesting because I had the opposite experience.
Yeah, me too. Like, I had a lot of them, like, come back that night or a day later with some sort of repercussion.
That night, like for an event you did out in the day.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part.
You do anything other than cooking, because apparently cooking doesn't let you do this.
Huh.
You may get an event that comes up based on what you did during the day.
Yeah, like, I happened upon a crying girl by a lake, and I recovered her necklace from the lake. And then that night, the alligator god came and was very angry at me for taking their offering away from them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then I had the little girl come back later, like find me later and say, "Hey, thanks."
Yeah, like I did something to help out a miner, and she came and visit me in camp that night and said she was going to make something special for me out of the ore that we found. And then, like, 2 days later, met me in town and presented me a necklace that increased, like, my stats. I feel like the worst thing you can do in a given night is cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely seems like cooking would only be worth it in a co-op game, and probably only if you have 4 players.
Yeah.
Well, I never really had enough interesting ingredients to do much with it, like, so I was kind of stuck.
Cactus and rice.
This really annoys me because I think the cooking system is actually pretty cool. Like, go out and collect ingredients, and then you'll be able to cook them, and they just aren't worth it. Like, there are all of the other options are better.
Well, like, so if they made cooking a freebie to where you got to cook something every night.
And then do something else?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, in the co-op, you do run it. It appears you run into the situation where only one person can do any particular thing,
Except for rest. Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe one person cooks because the thing that they would rather do, someone else wants to do it more.
I will say that cooking is how you are able to get some really powerful single characters out of the game. Also, once you finish the game, you get access to all of the characters, not just the one you controlled.
Oh, all the ones that everybody plays?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so for our co-op game, I got access to a druid that wasn't garbage, and also the song weaver I played.
Who is also not garbage.
So do you know what happens if you play a character and end up with the same set of traits as one that you already got turned into a constellation?
I don't know, because I haven't encountered this yet.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do it.
I have a lot of open constellations and haven't done any repeats yet.
When I saw the name Moon Hunters, I really felt like it was going in a different place than it actually did.
It was a vastly different game than I was expecting. Like, I was expecting it to be more of a traditional RPG type game for some reason. Like, almost like a Secret of Mana type game.
Ah, yeah.
And that was not what it is. So, like, it took me a while to get over that.
I said we played this at I said we played this at PAX South, but that was incorrect. I played this at PAX West.
There you go.
I did just unlock my first costume as the Snow Dancer, and wound up in the heavens because the goddess punched me there.
Interesting. I don't know how you get that ending.
Foolish and Vengeance, I think, because that's what my sword dude ended up with. He totally got punched into the heavens.
That's hilarious.
So it sounds like for the most part we all liked it.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely liked
Fun
it.
game.
Yeah. This was really cool.
Like it's not one of my favorite games, but especially if it's on sale, I would definitely pick it up because it's worth playing around with at least a little bit.
It's definitely a game you gotta sink a couple playthroughs in, though.
Yeah.
And that was like another aspect of it that I wasn't quite expecting, is it's very much a repetition game.
I mean, I feel like they do a good job of warning you of that. Like, the opening thing is like, these stories are told over and over again. Let's try and discover the truth of it. Hint, the answer is there is no truth of it.
Right.
And I think that's kind of neat. Like, it ties into the whole mythology thing.
Yeah.
So what are we in for next time?
Well, probably a game that is not going to be universally beloved. But I hope so. I might be surprised. I have been wanting to kill some Nazis. So we're going to play my favorite game about killing some Nazis. Wolfenstein,
Oh, man.
A New Order.
I am going to have to replay a game for this. I love this game. And we talked about this a long time ago when, and like Kodra and I love this game for totally different reasons.
But I would really like to do a deep dive on it, because I also think it's got some interesting things going on in the story.
I will give this one another shot. When I first picked it up, it was tremendously uninteresting. Ultra hyper cliche.
Yes. It is ultra hyper cliche until it stops being it.
Yeah.
It is absolutely playing into your expectations until it wants to start subverting them.
Yeah. And I did not get that far. I want to try playing it on PC this time because I was also playing it on console, and I don't really love playing first-person shooters on console.
I will have to give this one a shot.
It's also a game that you can play largely stealth-based, and I find that very fun.
Yeah, you can tell I did not at all. Like, I didn't last more than a few minutes as stealth. Now, the follow-up mini game, Wolfenstein The Old Blood, kind of is a forced stealth experience. So, yeah, that's a thing.
This is not that, as Bell will attest.
Yeah, no, I just straight up wrecked everything, and it was glorious. Hail of bullets.
I find this game a very interesting. So Duke Nukem Forever was terrible, and I feel like this game is the success of what Duke Nukem Forever was trying to be.
Yes. You can absolutely reboot an old property and make it into a modern experience.
While still being sort of true. You can make it modern while being true to some of the things that are, like, in many ways, this is the most 90s game I've played in a long time.
But anyway, that will be the May game. So we will see you in a month for that one.
If you played Moon Hunters, please let us know what you thought about it. If you want to play some Moon Hunters with us, get in touch on Twitter, and I'm sure we'll boot up a game and play some co-op. It's quite fun.
Yeah, we did wind up playing some co-op with folks who listen to us on Tales of Grindia, so it was pretty neat.
We are totally approachable.
Yeah, they were way better at the game than we were. I mean, just throwing that one out there.
Anyway, well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we would love to hear, as always, about your thoughts, and we will see you next week for a normal show. Good night!
Good night!
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.